interface, logic, and styles. CDK is nothing but CDK is giving behavior. CDK is giving more functionality to components. So technically, material components are templates. Technically, they are templates with styles, markup, and functionality. And CDK defines behavior for components, defines behavior for components. These are the 2 points we discussed. Today we will see how to use first material components. Then we will see how to use CDK. Actually, material components, same like Bootstrap components, how to set up. Yesterday I already showed you. You have to run the command ng add angular material, and some changes also I given. What are the changes, where the changes are made, and very important, to perfectly use angular material. So you have to make sure that browser animations module is installed. It's compulsory, because many people sometimes ignore this browser animations module, because while installing it will ask, do you want browser animations module? Sometimes when you ignore, still you can use material, you can work with some components, but certain functionality in the component will not work. Component is working, but in the component certain functionality is not working. That is the reason you have to make sure that this browser animation module is installed. It will ask while installing material itself, it will ask browser animation module. So once you have all this, let's see one example now. Let's see how to learn, how to explore the components. I will show one simple example of, as I already told you, that it is not about teaching and learning process. It is about exploring and researching on the components. You have to explore, you have to research and use the components, because they will be keep on changing. And today we are using material, but your companies may be using some other third parties. In that case, complete difference will be there. That means what component syntaxes you have used here, there will be different. You have to explore the components by yourself, right? I will show the process. Let's see. I will add one component here. Let's add a component. So ng generate component material demo. I'm adding a component called material demo. What are the basic rules you need to remember for implementing any component? I will tell you here. Yeah, so we added this material demo, and project is equal to shopping. Let's start the project. We will keep this in the startup. So this is material demo. Okay. And in index, we will keep material demo. Okay. So material demo. Okay. Now, what are the basics of implementing material? See. So here, first we will learn about material components. So the rules, rules for implementing material component. To implement any material component, some basic rules are there. That means you need to follow certain standards, certain rules. First important is you have to identify the module required for component. Every component requires a module. You have to first identify the module required for the component. So which module is needed for the component? But here some points are there. Actually, material library provides modules that may have a collection of components. That means sometimes one module can handle several components. You have to know about that point. That means a component needs a module, but sometimes one module can handle several components. That means now don't think that every component requires different module. 3-4 components can work on one module. That information you have to get from the official documents only. I will show you what is that material.angular.io. This is the official website. Material.angular.io is the official website where you have to explore and know about every component. So let's see here. You see, this is material.angular.io. This is the official website. And in this website, make sure that you are using the version what is suitable for your Angular. Right? It is Angular, so 3.7. So 13.3.7. And as I already told you, in your project package JSON, you can go to the package JSON, and here Angular material 13.3.8 is there. This makes compulsory problem. That means the documents you are watching, help documents you are watching, and you are trying to know about a component must be the same version, because lot of changes will happen in the properties, in the usage of components. Version to version changes will happen. That means by the time you finish Angular, one more new version may come, material, right? So if already you can see currently it is in RC. RC means it is ready. Latest version RC is ready. RC is there means RC means release candidate. RC is ready means within 1 month one more new version is going to come. So maximum, because RC is the final stage of versioning. RC is the final stage of versioning. That means one more version is coming ready very soon, very fast. I hope you know how versions are released. You know how software versions are released, na? Generally, software versions, how they are released, means what is the basic approach of versioning actually. This is generally version release cycle, version release cycle. Any software will follow this cycle. First, it will come with pre-alpha. After pre-alpha, alpha. After alpha, beta. After beta, RC. After RC, RTM and GA are nothing but RTM is just testing. That means they are testing, and GA means ready, available. That means now it is in RC stage, you have seen. That means only one more is there, RTM, and it is available. It is available. Companies will start using when it is finished RTM. Currently it is in RC. RTM will be very soon, because RTM will not take much time. RTM is just testing all the functionalities, making it ready for final release. That is the reason. So if you see any software is in RC, means very soon a new version is going to come. So, and alpha beta means it will take time. Alpha version, beta version means it will take more time, because from alpha to beta, beta to RC, it will take time. Once it is RC, it will be very fast. So these are general version releases actually. So you have to select this 3.13.3.8, because this is and you see here, when you select this, if it is not showing, that means there is no documentation. That means this 13.8 is having no documentation. There is no documentation. That means even the library version is 13.3.8, still they don't have a documentation for that. They don't have a documentation for that. So you have to use that. Then in that case, you have to use this version only. You have to use its previous version for help. Some issues may come. If issues will come, where to go? So if some issues come, then where to go is, if issues come, these material people may have a GitHub repository will be there. Because you are trying to use very latest version, which help is not provided. That means if you are using very latest version where help is also not provided, then how do I know about it? Every community have a GitHub repository. In that GitHub repository, they will provide all the documentations. That means documentation means that is community of official people who built it. What those people do is they will put the report documents. That means this problem may come, this error will happen. That is converted into a proper documentation later. They are still not having correct documentation on 13.3.8. They are not having a correct documentation on this. If they are not having correct documentation, you can get it from here, GitHub repository. That means you have to go to Angular material GitHub. You can Google and search, right? So you can Google and search, just Google like Angular material GitHub. So Angular material GitHub, the official component GitHub for Angular material. Here you will get it. Here you need to get it, and you can see here, this is the official of Angular people. So here you have to read the documentations. You need to know. See here the docs are available. You can go to the documentations, but these docs will navigate to material only actually. So you have to read these files. You have to read these files. Right, whatever the files they have given here, you have to open them. You see the documentations. Everything you need to get it from here. You see, readme.md file will be there. This readme.md file will give you all the information about what issues may there, what changes may happen. All that information will be here. That means on which concept they are working currently, very recently, everything will be here. Because see, documentation is to be done by community people, because it is open source community. Open source community means you can't guarantee that every problem related help is given here, right? Some are mentioned, some are not mentioned, some you have to explore yourself, do some research, or contact the communities, post the problem in community. That community will people will answer you, then you will get the solution. Sometimes this will happen, because generally these kind of softwares which are open source softwares, obviously documentation will be very poor. And especially some other technologies like you see React is more poor in documentation, very poor in documentation. That means you have to explore everything yourself, right? So very poor in documentation, because see, actually they started in 2014 Angular started, and 2014 React also started. Angular 14 is now 13 version. Angular is 13 version. React is now 18 version. Right? That means so rapidly every year you are releasing so many versions. Who will prepare correct documentation for that? Right? Because it's an open source community. Nobody will take a complete responsibility of documentation. You can also contribute some help. That means you can prepare a help documentation, contribute to Angular community. They will take, if that is perfect, they will review the documentation you submitted. They will allow you to contribute. Anybody can contribute to those documents. But the problem is there is no perfect documentation. I will show you that. You will understand. Means how problems will come, you will see now. See? So the point is now, you have to identify the module. You have to know the library required for the module. After that, what you have to do? So you have to import required modules into app.module.ts. That is important. Another, you know that every component have a selector. Every component have a selector which you have to use for importing into UI. You know this. So how to explore a component, how to use a component, we will see now, right? This is the basic process, how we can import and configure. Let's see one example. See, I will go to this material demo component. Let's go to components, material demo component. Yeah, here, let's see the difference here. Here, I will put a container fluid. Yeah, here I am adding bootstrap input. I am using bootstrap input. Generally, people who are coming from HTML, CSS, bootstrap background, how they design the form, and means for them how the form can be. See, for that generally what we do, we design a div container. In this container, so we will put a label. This is the tradition of designing a form. You know that. The label, so we'll have a class called form label. That is the class used for label. And here we have user name. And below that label, we will have a container. In that container, you will have text box. Input type is equal to text. And in this text box, you can have a placeholder. I will put the placeholder some user name. That is the placeholder I am giving. And this text box will have a class. And what is the class? Form control. Form control is the class. And you know that this label have to work for this text box. This text box will have a name called username. Then this label have to work for username. I hope you all people know this tradition. This is how a professional HTML form field is designed. That means every field in the form will have a label, will have a control. The label is attached to the control by using for. And in Bootstrap, usually we use form label class, and for text boxes we use form control class. This is the traditional Bootstrap, how we design, right? This is how Bootstrap input looks like. Let's see now. I will open this localhost 4200 and you can see this is the input. This is the Bootstrap input. I will do one thing, little bit. For this div, I will put a class called w_sum25. That means it will be little width adjusted here. It will be like this. So this is username. A placeholder, suppose I will say enter username. I am giving enter username. That is the placeholder. Now you can see this is the label and this is the text box, and with so username placeholder. I click inside it and I can enter some name I am trying to. This is the traditional Bootstrap style input. This is how we design traditionally. And these are the basic rules of designing form. General rules of designing a form field actually. So we have a container that is considered as a form field. And in that container, you will have label and you can have your control. And this control is attached to that label by using the name reference and for. That is the tradition actually. Now we will see how this input can be in material. We will see how this can be in material. That means how Angular material input looks like, right? See, to design Angular material input, we will see how to design Angular material input. Let's see. Generally, Angular material, so here, I will tell you here Bootstrap versus material, Angular material. Bootstrap versus Angular material. In this, generally in Bootstrap, what happens is first Bootstrap form field. How we design Bootstrap form field. Technically, Bootstrap form field we design like this. So Bootstrap form field, we put a div, and this div usually can have a class like margin bottom, margin top, something. In this, you will have a label, and in the label we use for some username, and it will have a class called form control. And you put some username and label close. So label close, that is label. After that, you will have a container. In that, you put input type is text. And for that, class is equal to form control, and here name is equal to username. Traditionally, some basic I will give here. Close this and close the main container. This is actually form field. In Bootstrap, we design like this. Now in Angular, so Angular form field actually. So Angular form field, it requires a form field component. That means Angular form field So it requires the following components. It requires the following components. What are the components? It needs form field. Another one is input. Another one is label. We need a form field, input and label. That is what we are using above, right? Same here, we need it requires the components like form field, we have input, and we have label. Here different, form field is different, so input is different and label is different. I will show you how they are, and let's see how to implement them. You see, now to design the form field, I am showing you here. So let's go to the official website. This is Material.io. In this, go to components category. You see, this is the components category. Left side, you have all the components information, In this, you can see there is a form field category. Usually, form field is used for designing a field with set of label and controls, right? Every field in a form is designed with form field. Generally, we use divs for that, but here we use form field. So observe carefully here. Means I am showing how to know about components. You see here, this is mat form field. This is the selector. But as I told you in the rules, see the first step. You have to identify the module required for component. That means for this component, which module is required. That information you will get in API. You see, there are three categories here: the overview, the API, and examples. You have to go to API. In API, you will get information about module, which module is required. And they may be changing regularly, version to version. Some new modules may be coming. That is the reason you have to keep on exploring these every time when new version comes. So when you go to API, you can see it shows the module name. This is the module that is required for form field. So what we have to do, let's go, and where to import the modules we know. We have to go to app module. In the app module, so first let's import the module. Anywhere you can import, but I will keep all my modules at one place, because components at one place, modules at one place, anywhere you can keep, doesn't matter. We have to import. So we have to import from @Angular/material we have a form field. From material form field, you have to import form field, mat form field module. Actually, you have to import mat form field module. That is the module we have to import top. Okay, we imported this. Now scroll down and register that module here. In imports, you have to register the module. What is it? Mat form field module. Remember, every component related modules will be different. Some components have only one module. You have to import every module which is needed. That means your module library will be very much complex now. So many new modules you have to import according to your uses. If you miss any module, it cannot work. Observe carefully. I need a form field. You see, I need a form field. I need an input. I need a label. I need three things to design. I imported this form field module. Do I need to import this input and label also? That I don't know. That means I need three elements. I need a form field, I need a label, and I need text box. But I don't know what modules are required for them. So generally, you see, when you are exploring any module here, you see this is API. In the API, here we have three categories: overview, API, and examples. Three categories will be there. When you go to API, the module came here. Not only that, actually, in this module, you can observe so much information is given here. So much information is given here. And you can see here, you will find a directives category. And you can see the selectors. Here, we have some selectors called mat error. We have a selector called mat error. You can see here, this is C. We have mat error. We can scroll down, but not required actually. Simply, you go right side. Here you will find these all are under this module. That means whatever the list of directives they given, that means these all are present inside this module. That means in form field module, you have error, you have hint, you have placeholder, you have mat suffix, mat prefix, mat label. That means you don't need a separate module for label, because already this form field is having label. This form field is having label. So you don't need a module for label. If you are going to use any one of these, all these are present inside one module. That means now we identified that. So when you import form field module, this requires which one? Form field module. We have to import form field module. So that requires form field module. But the point is, in this module, this label is also present. That means it's also depends on form field module only. It also requires form field module only. But at same time, what is the selector for this? The selector for this, you have to check the selector. What is the selector? Observe selector for mat form field. The selector is mat form field. That is the selector. What is selector for label? You have to check the selector for label. Selector for label is mat label. This is mat label. That means first you need to identify the module. You need to identify the selector. That is very important. For every module, remember, you have to keep in touch of that website documentation regularly. It's not like you have 10 years experience and you remember 5 years back what you have done and you implement that now. It will not work. Right? Why? Because every new version, lot of changes they are making. Because in the modern web development, lot of new things are required. They are working on them and they are releasing several new features. Drastic changes. They are doing lot of changes. Not simple changes. They are changing complete library itself. That is the reason some problems will come to know about the new versions, especially working with them. You have to do lot of research on that before implementing. Okay. Now, two things are ready for us. We know that we need a form field and we imported, and this will give a label for us. So two are ready. Now we need to know about one more. What is it? Input. Let's see what about input module. See, there is a input module separately here. You see, there is a input module separately here. So let's go to input. And first, how do we know which module is required? Go to API. In API, the module required is mat input module. That is the module required for it. That means for input, you need this module. And observe now here in the directives, you can see this is having only one. Mat input is having only one. That means it is only single. mat input is only single. That means it is not having any other dependencies. Dependencies are very important because that is where you will face problem. If you are trying to import a module and its dependencies are missing, then you cannot properly use it. So this is not having any dependency. Okay, fine. Now one more point is what you have to know about its selector na? But observe carefully. Remember when I told you a directive, because remember all these are directives na? A directive, generally a directive, I already told you, directive have several behaviors. What are those behaviors? Directive have several behaviors na? Behaviors. Remember that? Directive have several behaviors. What are the behaviors of a directive? Directive can be used as element. Remember na? Directive can be used as an attribute. Directive can be used as an class. Right? You can use directives as elements. You can use directives as attributes, or you can use directive as class. Already I told you this point. Directives are used as element to return markup. Directives are used as attribute to extend markup. Those points I given already while discussing directives. That means, is every directive used as an element? Every directive is not used as an element. Some directives are used as elements, some are used as attributes. The directives which are used as elements, they have selectors. Understood? For example, we learnt about ng if, we learnt about ng for, we learnt about ng switch, we learnt about ng model. What kind of directives are these? They don't have selectors. They are used as attributes. Am I right? They are used as attributes. Ng if used as attribute, ng for as attribute, ng model. We learnt about ng template. Ng template is not used as an attribute. It is used as an element. We learnt about ng container. Am I right? These are used as elements. These are used as elements. That means every directive will not have the same behavior. Some directives are used as elements. Some directives are used as attributes. Some directives are used as even classes. Later you will see those classes directives. So as of now, you know that elements, that means you know that every directive is not having a selector. And observe carefully in this mat input, when I select mat input, it is not having any directive. It is not having any selector. It is not having selector. You saw previously when we have seen form field and table, they have selectors. But this is not having a selector. That means you see, so how we can use this now? You see it is exported, says selector, there is no selector. It says that in general input, we have to use the property called mat input. If you are using text area, in the text area you have to use as, what is square brace means? Square brace means it is used as a property. It is used as a property. As a property you have to use it. That means you have to use as an, see, it will show in select, you can use, in select we have to use mat native control. If you are using in general input like text box, password or radio button, check boxes, then you have to use mat input. If you are using in drop downs, then you have to use as mat native control. You have to use like that. Depends on where you are going to use it. That means first a developer should understand whether this is used as an element or used as an attribute. Means you should first know the module. You should know the performance. Is it used like an element or used as an attribute? If it is used as an element, what is the selector. If it is used as an attribute, what is the attribute name? See the attribute name. The attribute name for this is, what is the attribute name? Mat input. That is the attribute. And it is given like square brace. That means it is not actually attribute, like it is like property. You know that properties are dynamic. It is used as a property. So even to implement a simple component, so many technical things you need to know. If you miss any one small concept, it is not going to work for you. That is one problem, right? Still, so many issues will come. I will show you. Let's see. Now, one module we imported. We need to import another module. What is another module? Let's go and we have to import another module here. What is it? Import. The module is from @Angular /material /mat input. We have input, right? We have input, right? In this input, we have to input mat input module. That is what you have to do. And this module also to be registered here. You cannot use them just by importing. You have to import them also here. Okay, now whatever modules are required, they are ready. Whatever modules are required, they are ready. For label, we don't need any module because we saw that it comes under form field only. Okay. Now let's design in the UI now. Let's go. And you saw the selectors also. What is the selector? We have an mat form field. That is the selector. This is a container, just like Bootstrap container. In this, we need a label. In this, we need a label. Then what we have to use? Mat label. So mat label. I am using label. In this label, I am giving as user name. You are giving as username. Okay. Next, we need a text box. Text box means we have to define as a input. We have to define as input. But how you can make it as an input? That means we have to configure as an mat input. You have to define mat input. It is used as an attribute now. It is used as an attribute. So input type. So input type. What is the type for the input? Text. For text, for number, for email, it will be mat input only. You have to define. Some name I will give here. So name I will give here as username. Okay, fine. But still it is not enough. It is not enough because this mat form field can have a lot of properties. This label also can have a lot of properties. Properties are used for appearance, right? You can change the appearance in different ways. Every component can have some properties. Every component can have some properties. Now see, I am saving this now. Let's see. You can observe here in the design now. This is material input. And I will enter placeholder also. I will see one more. What is it? Mat placeholder. So it is placeholder, just placeholder. I will just give the name as enter user name. That is the placeholder I given there. You see in the output here, the placeholder we given as, so enter username. See now, when this is label, this is not placeholder, that is label. I click inside this label, then it will get that. That looks good. It looks different. That means the above is general your Bootstrap and the below is, this is material. We have a placeholder, we have a field, and we have some animations working. If you don't install browser animations, text box will be like this. But when you click inside, it will not slide up. It will not show the placeholder, but input will be like this. That means you will get the output, but some functionalities will not be working. That is the reason you have to make sure that those browser animations are configured, compulsory. Now you see this input looks different now. The input that you have used here and the input here is different. And remember, only design logically working is same. Logically working is same. That means how to collect value and display, that is nothing special. Only design logically working is same. That means how you will make it dynamic. You can make it dynamic by using ng model. You have to define hash username is equal to ng model. And if I want to display some text here, I will put a heading and I say hello, and I want to access that. That means we have username dot value. That means whatever the value they are entering here, it is same, nothing's different. Only the component appearance is different, its behavior is different, but functionality everything same, no change. Your forms are forms, modules are modules, your events are events, right? Everything same. Only the difference is the way of the look of that particular element is different. But observe here. So you may be thinking like only like this it is going to work. No, lot of other animations may be there, effects may be there. You have just used a form field, but you don't know that form field have lot of appearances, right? That means what you have to do now is go to this Angular material library and go to form field library. In the form field library, you have to know the properties for form field. What are the properties for form field? That you will get in API, as I already told you. In the API, mat form field, you can see these are all, this is selector and these are properties. See what properties it is having. It is having a property called appearance. And you know why it is marked as input. You know why it is marked as input, right? It is marked as input means it is another component which is accepting value from you. From your component, you give a value, it will take the value and it will implement. That means all it is showing as input means all these components are used as child components in our main component. And from main component to child component, how to transfer data? For that, there must be input fields. Na? That is the reason they have those input fields. That means, see, they have so many options. What are those? You can see appearance is there. Appearance. This is appearance style. If you want to know what appearances are available, you can see so many appearance options are there. You can see the appearance, how we can define the appearance. You see a lot of appearance options are there. Form field appearances will be there. You see, these are all attributes only. Auto filled, true or false. Disabled, true or false. Empty, true or false. Focused, true or false. These are all the properties of that element. And you can use the properties. Suppose I am using appearance. Let's see. You see, there is a property called appearance. There is a property called appearance. Right? Let's try it. That means that is nothing but the form field appearance style. Let's go to the design, and here form field, I am adding a property called, the property is appearance. And for appearance, we are giving some appearance. We have some appearance like standard, like, so means different appearance styles will be there. We can apply those appearances. This is a standard appearance. You have various appearances. Where to explore, I will show you here. Appearance styles where we have, let's see in the list, form field appearance. Appearance have some values. Those values we need to do. This is the mat form field appearance. Where is the class? Yeah, these are all the appearances. These are the appearances. We have legacy, we have standard, we have fill, we have outline. These are the appearances. That means we need to know about the appearances. That means what you do, we use legacy, we use standard, we use fill, outline. Suppose see now, I am using the value. I am using standard. Instead of standard, what you can do, you can put the outline now. If I put appearance outline, then you can see its appearance will be like this now. Now I click inside, it will be showing like this. It is little different. It is outline appearance. It is outline appearance. Previously, it was a standard. We can use legacy, we can use fill. Instead of outline, we are using legacy. And when I use legacy, and you can see the appearance will be like this. Depends on what you are doing. Functionality is same, no change in the functionality. So how you use two-way binding, using MVC, MVVM, everything similar. The way of presenting the content will be different here. This is the concept of dealing with the selectors. So one example I will give here means how to explore. Why? Because you can't depend on the notes that you take while learning, because these keep on changing. You can't depend on certain standard process. Just you have to go and explore by yourself every component and learn and use it. It is not like somebody teaches and you learn and use it. But we can help in understanding where to explore, how to explore the process we can give. So I will show you how to troubleshoot now. Suppose any technical issue comes, how troubleshoot happens. See, first example, material demo. First, what you have to do, go to app.module.ts. In app.module.ts, to design this, what we have done, we imported these modules, right? These modules we have imported, and we registered those modules in our imports. We registered those modules. These are the two things we have done. Already they may have something else, right? Here we are importing. Second one, we have material demo dot component dot HTML. There is nothing in TS, right? In HTML, we designed these two. One is bootstrap, another one is form field, right? Now I will show you one more point here. I will copy this. Yeah. Now I will show you one more point. How generally we can troubleshoot any issues, means how to find the solution for problems that we are facing in general actually. See, sometimes when you are trying to implement these components, lot of dependencies are required. And officially, these documents are prepared somebody like you. This notes, help documentation is prepared somebody like you. They may miss those points. Obviously, they may miss humans, right? They can miss those points. And in that case, correct guidance will not be there how to handle the issue. For example, see, suppose I want to implement a calendar. Means I want a date picker so that I can pick the date and choose the date and handle it. See, for that what I am doing is, I am giving another example here. Suppose I want a calendar like option. That means you can say date picker actually. Date picker. So you see now here, first option is I will go to the library. Here there is a date picker here. There is date picker library. First, you know that it needs API. You see the API, what module is required? The module is date picker module. Date picker module. Okay. As per the module, I will import. I will copy that and go to app module, and I will import date picker module. Fine. I have to register the date picker module. So mat date picker module. Okay, good. And see, lot of dependencies are here. You see lot of directives. That means these all are the members of that date picker. All these are the members of date picker. And see here, so when I select mat date picker, so this is mat date picker. So you select mat date picker. This is the selector for that. Mat date picker is the selector. That means if I want to use, I have to use that mat date picker. For example, see now, every time what to do now, I will remove this. Yeah, username, form field, everything same. Here instead of username, I will give as, instead of the username, I will give as departure. So some date, they have to select the date. And here I need to give a text box so that user can select the date from the calendar. Okay. That is what we want to do. So here we need to design. So what we do generally, you go to the design now. We know that we need a mat date picker, mat date picker. But how to use this mat date picker? You see, I'm using mat date picker. We are just using mat date picker. Now the question is how to use this mat date picker. Actually, date picker means it contains icons. So it contains a text box. It contains lot of things. Then every time it is not simply like I showed you previous. So what you have to do is, because a component may have combination of several dependencies. If it is having combination of several dependencies, then compulsory you have to go to examples. Means to make it easy, you have to go to examples. Previously, we are not going to examples because they are very simple. Here, very complex. Why very complex? Because generally you imagine date picker. Date picker usually contains a text box. Beside it, there will be a calendar icon. When I click on calendar icon, a calendar will pop up here. And in the calendar, you select some date. That date will be stored inside this text box. So much work is there. It's not like previously text box or label. Lot of combinations are required for this. In that case, you see, you go to examples category. In this examples category, a simple date picker. This is the basic date picker. You see, this is text box. This is placeholder. This is label. And it is having a calendar icon beside it. Now the question is how to design this all. How do we implement this? So generally, first point is clear that we need a text box. That means we have to need a text box. Input type is equal to text. But how to make it as a material text box? We have to use a property called mat input. That is common. That is common. We are defining it like that. Now, after configuring this, you see here, you see in the basic date picker, you have 3 buttons here. This is the source code, right? You open the source code and you can see the source code. This is range picker. Actually, this is the range picker. We will go to the basic picker, basic date picker. Range picker we don't want. We want a basic date picker. So, where is it? Basic date picker, we will use this one. You can see this is basic date picker. Range we don't need. Yeah. Here you can see this is the basic picker. And you can see here we have label, we have input. And you see there is an option mat date picker. Mat date picker is there and mat date picker toggle is there. What is the difference is this is the button to open date. You have kept the date, but this is the button for opening the date. That means I showed you in the diagram, we need a date. So that means this you kept currently, but this is not there. That means now what we have to do in the date picker is there. We need one more. What is it? Mat date picker. So with date picker have a toggle button. This is toggle button. That means this button is used to open this date picker. How to know that this should open this date picker? You can see here. For that, you can see they are using for. Just for label I showed you. Label is binded with any control. For which one? Picker. Picker is what? This picker ID. Mat date picker ID. So that means it have an ID. So ID. ID is nothing but hash. What is it? Its name is some picker. Or we say some departure. Departure. That means now what should happen? This toggle should work for. It should work for. What is it? Departure. It should work for departure. That means this is the calendar and this is the toggle button for that calendar. And one more important is this text box have to collect the value from departure and put that here. Then we have to use a property as, so mat date picker. It should get the value from where? Departure. It should get the value from departure. That means this mat date picker property will collect the value from the date picker and it will store that inside the text box. But still, you see, you designed everything according to example. You see, you saw an example given by those people and you implemented it. And see, whatever they given, I given here also. And one more is mat suffix. Mat suffix is nothing but it will decide where to display that control. Left or right, we have to display that control that you define. I am giving here. This is a mat suffix. Mat suffix will keep right side. Prefix will give left side where you want that icon. But see here, I designed everything according to what they given. And go to the TS file. In the TS file, nothing special is given here. Everything common. In HTML, whatever given, we implemented here. But you can see still in your page, you have an error. Observe that error. Inspect. You go to the library console. You will see there is an error. And observe the error. It says that there is no provider found. What does that mean? There is no provider found. There is no provider found error came means some dependency is missing. That means this component requires another library as dependency. If that library is not there, it cannot work. Where they have mentioned it? Where they have mentioned it? You go to API, they will not tell you about that anywhere. So you go to overview, they will not tell you about that anywhere. You go to example, there also they will not tell you anywhere that it needs a dependency. It needs a dependency. That means in examples you go, explore those examples, there also they don't mention any dependency. That means this document is not clear. Right? That means these kind of issues developer will face regularly. That means they never mention, there is no proper clarity in this document. That means they have to mention that, means in the first line itself, they have to mention that this needs a dependency. If you don't use it, will not work. They haven't mentioned anywhere. Means about the overview in the API, in the examples, there is no mention about any dependency. But when I'm trying to use, it is showing error. When I'm trying to use, it is saying that dependency error. See dependency error. It says that you must import the module. What is the module? Mat native date module. Mat date native date module you have to import. So you have to import this in order to use date picker, but they haven't mentioned this. They haven't mentioned this. So they actually mentioned, where they mention, see, you go at the bottom somewhere here, troubleshooting is there. Troubleshooting. In the troubleshooting, when you scroll down, it says that somewhere you can read that, right? it requires a mat native date module. It requires a mat date module. It says that if this error comes, you try this. Why they have mentioned like that? Because already they developed a documentation for this, but people who are using, they found so many issues in that, they report those issues, and again these people will correct, and while correcting the documentation they will mention. Sometimes they mention, sometimes they don't mention. If they don't mention, you have to do yourself only. That means why to give troubleshoot? They can simply put in the starting itself that this needs this module. They are saying that you will get an error. If you got that error, then try this. Now, why to tell that? Tell me without error directly. But they don't know, because people may use in a different scenarios, situations. In every situation, it may not get error. In some situations, it will get error. That is the reason you have to work very hard on this to understand. One more point. Okay, I understood that I need mat native date module. In which library it is present? I understood this. I need this module. Where it is present? Where this module is present? They have mentioned anywhere here? They have mentioned that you need this module, but where to find this module? They haven't mentioned anywhere. They simply say that you have to import in your root module this one. But where we find that? That means, you see, I will go into this implementation. I go into this implementation. You can see in the implementation, mat native date module is present inside this library. Everything they can just mention at one place that you need this dependency and you use it. But it's not like that. So much exploring I have to do to understand the problem. That is where any open source community, these type of problems will come. Because even they are Google, but they are a community. They are also humans. They can't design everything for you in your convenient way. Right? Wherever they find the problem, somebody reports a problem, they find the solution and put somewhere. You have to explore and know about it. Right? That is what developers' experience come to picture. That means, is he able to troubleshoot the issue? Then he is a real-time developer. Right? That means now how to troubleshoot? So many things will be there. It may take 1 day, 2 days also to explore it, to know about it. What problems are there? Right? Now see, I hope you understood what to do now extra. In the app module, we have to import one module. What is the module? Import from which location? At the net, Angular, Material, Core. Material Core. What is the module they given? Mat native date module. Okay, and I will import that module here. I will import that mat native date module. Imported that here. Now you can see in the design, the date picker is ready. No problems now. And the calendar have to pop up and it will display the calendar. That means we designed a calendar and we designed a calendar here. User can choose a date and it will display. Right? This is the way of designing. Now, very important is every component is such complex thing. You have to explore and use. Right? Try 1-2 other components by yourself. Right? If you feel any difficulty, I will explain. Right? I will show you 1-2 more components so that you can get more clarity. How to resolve, how to handle the issues. 2 things I showed you. Form fields, general, and calendar. Let's see few more other components so that you can practice them. That we'll see in next session. Okay. So next session, tomorrow we don't have session. Again, our session will be on Monday. Okay. So Monday will continue. Tomorrow no session. Right.